Hi, everybody. I'm Tamara Zoner.
And I'm John Davis.
Welcome to Spirit Cafe.
Come in, sit down, and
grab a cup of love.
A Spirituality Without the Guilt podcast. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to Spirit Cafe. It is I, the sultry-voiced John Davis. How are you today? Good to see you. Good to hear you. Glad you're with us. And I am being accompanied today by the sister of siesta, the lady of leisure, the vixen of vacation, the one, the only, the lovely Miss Tamara Zoner. How are you today, Tamara Zoner?
Oh, highly amused. How are you?
I am good. I am good. The sister of siesta. I love that one.
I love that.
The vixen of vacation.
I would like to live up to those names. Yeah.
It's time, isn't it, sister?
Oh, it is. It is time. So
it is time. Vacation. It's one of those people are constantly on the move and constantly on the go and constantly on, burning themselves out with work and with stress. And I also find that a lot of people are constantly, and this will be a subject of our next episode, they're constantly searching their mind for the next thing. Mm-hmm. And so they don't ever give themselves just a break to be.
Yes, to be.
Yes. And to me, I think that's hugely important. How for you personally, I know you and I have both just recently discussed needing a vacation. So for you, how important is a vacation?
It is so important. And that thing you just said, people are always doing, and we hardly take time to simply be. And I always joke because I actually had to work at simply being. I spent a whole year being really mindful of being because I was always in my head and doing. And it was really hard for me to slow down and simply be. And so I had to practice allowing myself downtime. And I still do. I still have to practice. And I have to schedule it in because I'll forget to take any. In fact, I just a few weeks ago, at the end of the school year, it gets very crazy. I have 3 kids. One I just took to Interlochen yesterday. And, so it's been a really incredibly busy month. And I had to actively look through my calendar and say, okay, where can I schedule time off just to be?
So it's interesting. I often talk about the idea that the word ego means self-awareness. Just that's all it means. And when people talk about ego, they talk about a lot of them are really talking about is an ego out of balance to the narcissistic side. Right. But there's also that core group of people who take ego out of balance to the other way and be selfless, and parents do this all the time.
Yes.
Everything's for the child and what happens is when someone is selfless and not aware of their physical needs, their mental needs, mm-hmm. they get weaker and weaker and tighter and sicker. And it really comes down to they need to love themselves enough to take a vacation.
Yes.
And sometimes you can be totally not aware because you can get very passionate about something and not realize you need a vacation from that as well. For instance, when I came back to doing spiritual work after the 10-year break, I was so passionate about it. And I found that I'd get up in the morning and I'd get on the computer and I'd come into the video studio and I'd do all this stuff. And next thing you know, it was, midnight. And that happened for like a month and a half. And I was like, man, I really need to slow down because I'm burning myself out really fast. Yeah. And so then I started creating I was putting out like 3-4 videos a day sometimes.
I know.
But it was really a good business move because it got my brand out pretty quickly. Yeah. But now it's like I said, okay, I can go into the studio and I can record 2 to 3 weeks worth of videos in one shot. Wow. And then I can take that time and I can parse it out. So I can spend time hanging out with my kid. I can spend time, sleeping, taking a nap, having coffee on my back deck, And this week I'm I'm heading to the beach for 10 days.
Nice.
So I'm going to go hang out and see the wild horses and do all that kind of cool stuff, and it's going to be fun, right? But I need that, and to go back to a place, to vacation to a place for me like the beach is very cleansing, because I am a beach baby. I grew up in the beach, and when I get down to that salt air, and the first time I smell it, I just exhale more.
Mhm.
I let myself go more. And do you feel that you have to give yourself permission to vacation or to take a break?
I feel like I used to. Yeah, I used to have to give myself permission. Now I just have to give myself the time and carve it
Right,
out. But
right,
I definitely think that we're in a culture of doing, and a lot of people are doing and doing and doing because they have to make ends meet, right? Or
right.
they feel they have to. And this is the world that they've created, is that they have to work, work, work to be able to pay their bills. And if they, I've heard this from my own family members. Well, if I take a vacation, then who's going to pay the rent or the mortgage or the bills or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot? Well, my argument to that is, I talk a lot about keeping your cup full and serving from the overflow, because if we just give and give and give and give, like you mentioned earlier, then the quality of the giving isn't up to par. It's rotten, right? It's rotten water. It's not from a space of love anymore. It's from I have to,
Mm.
and then we get resentful and we get exhausted, and what we want to do is fill that cup, and part of that is taking a break. And if it doesn't feel like you can yet, then you have permission to, listeners.
Right,
Right?
right.
Someone
Yeah.
else had to give me permission to slow down first, and then I was like, oh, why does someone else have to give me permission? What am I doing to myself? What am I saying to myself that isn't giving myself that space? And so then I started to give myself permission. And it started for me, I was in a mental place where it's like, I can't take a vacation. I'm a single mom of 3 kids. I have to work. I have to work. I have to work. And so I found pockets of vacation, right? It can
Right,
be an hour, my friends.
right, right.
A day where on the weekend, instead of getting all the housework done, you simply don't do anything. You take a
Right.
walk outside, you go to the park, you go to the beach. You don't have to save thousands of dollars for the ultimate vacation. A vacation can be a breath.
Right. And what I find interesting is that it's becoming much more broadly accepted that people need their time. And right now in England, they're in major discussions to shift to a 4-day work week,
Mm.
so that they can have a 3-day weekend every week. And how wonderful would that be?
It'd be amazing.
And they discover when they do that, people are more productive.
Heck yeah, because they're rested. Because you take the 2 days of the weekend are like, oh, got to get all this stuff done, right? Take care of the house and run the kids to piano lessons and do these other errands. And then all of a sudden it's Monday again and you haven't had the downtime. We need that one day of rest. I noticed even with my kids during COVID, when the school went virtual, they had Wednesdays as this like work at your own pace day. And when they returned to school, they had the option for at least my oldest daughter's school at the International Academy. They had
Mhm.
the option of coming back into school or doing it virtually, but Wednesdays were still this day off. It was so good for her.
Mm,
It did better. Her grades actually went up and
mm.
she had good grades anyway. But like the areas where she struggled, she actually improved because she had this day off where she could, at her own pace, catch up, sleep in, right? Because high school starts darn early.
Yeah, it
And
does. Yeah, it does.
you know, and so
Not anymore. My kid's out.
I know, right? Because school, anyway, that's a whole other topic. Schools need to reverse their timing because little kids wake up early, but high schoolers need, their sleep schedules shift because of their
Yeah.
hormones. Anyway, so that one day off in the middle of the week was really, really, really good for her, good for me. I didn't have to get up so early to take her to school. We need more rest than weekend.
It's true. I think that our our very nature is to be in the conscious state of rest. And the all of the a lot of the work, quote unquote work, is self-imposed.
Mhm.
And you know, I say to people all the time, I said, you know, in spirituality is like deep sea diving. You know, we come down into the physical plane and we experience our physical experience, and then every 16 hours we have to go back up for air,
Mhm.
and we go to sleep. Right? And so we go back into that consciousness state. And I said, and I think that going back to that consciousness state, what it does is going to sleep, it allows us to shut down our judgments of self. It allows us to shut down the minutia of a physical reality.
Mhm.
And it's like a vacation. But sometimes people get so stressed in the physical world, they carry that into their dream state. And then
Yeah.
all night long they dream about it and they do all this stuff. And it's like, you got to be able to, you have to clear your mind. And that's what a vacation does
Mhm.
for a lot of people. But the idea that taking a mini vacation, you know, a lot of people, you know, give themselves excuses to take mini vacations. I'm going to take a smoke break,
Mhm.
right? You know, and I said, go take a breathing break. You'll feel better,
Yeah.
and your lungs will like it better.
Yes.
um, but when you think about, you know, giving themselves permission to go take a break, giving themselves a reason to go take a break, is because they don't feel they can. And I think that it's got to come to a place where you yourself love yourself enough to say, no, I'm taking a break because I need a break, and
Yes.
and
And
giving
no
yourself a break.
excuse is needed,
Right.
right?
No justification whatsoever is
Yeah,
needed.
sometimes my boyfriend used to be like, "Well, I've been on calls for 8 hours straight, and so I'm gonna go take a nap." I'm like, "You don't need the 8 hours straight phone calls to take. You want a nap? You feel like your body needs a rest? Go take a nap. You don't need any reasons. Just do it.
Right, right, right,
You deserve it. You do work hard. But even if you didn't, you can go take a nap if that's what you feel like you need for yourself."
right. That's just it. A lot of people feel like they need to justify it. You
Yes.
know, my sister, my oldest sister, you've not met her in any way, shape, or form. My other one you've only met online.
Yeah.
My oldest sister has, you know, she was the Dr. Dutton, the math whiz. You know, she her whole life was about being of service and being of working and being working. And then she retired, and then she retired, and then she went back to work, and because she couldn't give herself that rest, that space.
Yeah.
And then, you know, now she's like, um she is fully retired, but she's now become an artist, and
Mhm.
which is interesting because she never painted and never did any of that stuff. She didn't paint until after she finished, and then her first painting was like photo real. When
Wow.
she let go of the need to do this, her creative side came out more.
Mhm.
Uh,
So many
but
people think they can't do the fun
right,
stuff because they have to do the work stuff.
exactly. But then my sister took that and became president of the art guild, and now she's given herself work around the creative element. And I'm like, well, that's cool if it's what you love to do.
Mhm.
But you know, there is also the idea of just being an artist, not
Mhm.
needing to do all the administration stuff as well. But you know, she defines herself that way, so she constantly is trying to find things to keep her working.
Mhm.
Um, and but there is the element also that you've got to keep your mind active. But I think when I go on vacation, my mind is just as active,
Mhm.
doing fun things and enjoyable things. You know, getting up in the morning and saying, I'm going to go to the beach and I'm going to go sit on the beach and I'm going to watch the waves and look at the dolphins jumping and do all that stuff. And that's just as mentally active. It's just not as responsibly mentally active. I'm
Mhm.
not forcing myself to be responsible for that dolphin jumping. You know?
Right, you don't have to do anything to make
Right. I'm
it's a
being.
break. It's a break from the doing. It's just simply letting yourself be. And I do think that an actual vacation is so important. I always use this phrase, we need to disconnect to reconnect, right?
Right.
So disconnect from your daily life, from your devices, so that you can reconnect to your soul, to nature. And frankly, my favorite kind of vacation is out in nature. So I want to be in the trees. I want to be on the water. I want to be somewhere where I can feel the wind in my hair and smell the good smells of summer or spring or autumn or winter, but I don't think.
I completely agree with you. I think getting outside of a house, outside
Mhm.
of the closed air systems of our houses, and
Mhm.
out into the fresh air. The trees are pushing off fresh oxygen, so you get into the trees and you smell that fresh oxygen. The water flowing downhill in motion, as
Mhm.
long as it's in motion, is filled with oxygen and life. It's
Yeah.
when that water stops and becomes a puddle, it becomes stagnant. And it's about being out there in the air and being in the active environment of the world. And I love, like I love to go camping. I love to go sit in the
Yes.
woods and
Yeah.
you know like I say, go to the beach. And I think that you've got to find on your own personal vacations, and the lady of leisure has to find
Mhm.
um, the place where you can be and really get energized by what's around you.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think and sometimes that's as easy as walking out in your backyard.
It is for me now.
Yeah, you got a lake right about.
Yeah.
I've got a beautiful green yard out back here and a back deck. My cup of coffee and that chair in the mornings is just lovely.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
And I'm finding so much peace. This morning, I actually did yoga right in front of the lake outside because it's just a
Mm,
gorgeous day. And then there was a family of swans right by our
yeah,
dock. And it was just so beautiful. And that was one of those mini vacations. And I think though we need longer periods of time, 3 days minimum, a week to 2 weeks is awesome if you can take it, if you're
right,
willing to take it, to really step away from your life and just do the stuff that is fun,
right, right.
and spend time with your family and have fun conversations. Even if it's a long drive instead of a flight, you can make it easy. A lot of people stress over their vacations, which to me doesn't feel like a vacation. I'm reading about their stressful experiences flying here to there. You know, I drove my daughter to Interlaken. It's about a 3.5 hour drive. And that felt like a little vacation. All we were doing was in the car talking to each other,
Yeah,
and
that
then we went and
human
had
connection.
dinner.
Yeah,
Just the two of us just talked through this beautiful dinner that we had. And, you know, just to get out of your home where you have so much to do all of the time creates so much liberation in your body and in your being that you can simply be. And you don't have to like fill your days at Disneyland. That's not even a vacation.
Mm,
If I go somewhere, I might want 1 or 2 touristy days, but
right.
I want 3 or 4 sit on the beach. Ultimately, it's
Yeah.
always water for me.
Why take a vacation if you're not going to be rested at the end of it?
Exactly. But you know how people will say, "Oh, I need a vacation after my vacation." Well, then you didn't take a vacation. You just went and did stuff in a different place.
Right, right, right. You didn't give yourself a chance to rejuvenate. And I think that's really the key to a good vacation is you come home feeling rejuvenated,
Yeah.
and for me, I come home from vacation like, oh, okay, I'm back at work. And it doesn't feel as great as the vacation just did, right?
Mm.
But I am rested enough to go, okay,
Yeah.
this is good. This is
Yeah. And
lovely.
even if you are doing something really cool and fun, like going overseas and being a tourist in a new country, in a new place, which I totally support
Oh,
and
absolutely. Me
encourage,
too. Me too.
in those vacations, don't fill every minute, right? I went to France and we would sit at cafes for
Mm,
hours
yeah.
and just
Yeah.
watch the pigeons, watch the little birds, watch the people. Like, it's just so
That
quiet.
is the best. That is the best part of foreign travel.
Mhm.
And I remember I went to Tuscany, and specifically we booked a villa out in the middle of the Tuscan countryside.
Nice.
And we got there and we came into the place, we got into our room, and we walked up. It was nighttime, and we walked upstairs, and there was this big balcony that you could sit on and look straight down the valley, and sat down on these chairs and just looked outside, and a storm came in and blew down the valley, and we saw the lightning storm, and all sitting here talking about it. That memory is so visceral because it was such a beautiful state of being
Mhm.
and experiencing and not thinking about anything else except for being there in that moment.
Yes.
And it was so rejuvenating. And sometimes, when you go out of country, especially,
Mhm.
you've removed yourself from everything so much, it's actually sometimes easier to just be,
Yeah.
because
Except for
you're so
people
far
think they
away.
have to do so much to experience every little bit of that different culture. But I'm like,
Yeah.
no, take a break. Take a whole day for the Louvre or the Versailles instead of trying to fit in 3 things every day, so
Right.
that you can wander and slow down and soak it in and have I mean, especially in places like Italy or France where leisure is such an
It's
important
part of the
part, right?
culture.
They have like
Yeah.
3-hour lunches. So
Yeah. I had a trip with to Peru, which was
cool.
lovely. And it was just like, and there's a whole adventure story in there as well, because of they had a was a travel strike during while I was there, and there
Oh,
was, yeah, a long, crazy, real serious adventure story. But the trip was designed for us just to leisurely see things.
mhm.
And then we ended up in Lake Titicaca. Because of the travel strike, we got stuck at the hotel in Lake Titicaca for several days. But that was so nice.
Yeah.
I was sitting in a hot tub watching llamas. It was lovely. It was wonderful. That
Right?
moment was great,
Yeah.
But I think that we sometimes have to give ourselves that permission. Then I went on another trip with another guy, and we went to Israel, Greece, Jordan, Israel, Greece, and Jordan. I think that's all we did. And I really felt like the whole time we were traveling, I was chasing him,
Mhm.
because he was like, "We have to go here. We have to go here." There. And we went to there's an island called Delos off of Mykonos in Greece. I went to Greece, Israel, Greece, and Jordan, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So Delos is a complete island that is all an archaeological site, and I'm fascinated by archaeology. And we went to Delos, and you arrive on a boat, and boats come every 45 minutes, but you're supposed to take the second boat because you can't see everything in the 45 minutes,
Okay.
right? So we get there, and the guy says, we have to be back here in 45 minutes because we have other things to do. So we spent the whole time running around this site,
Oh gosh.
like high speed. I have literally have photographs of the back of his head, right? Right. and we get back to the boat, and the guy says, "Oh, you can't take this boat. You have to take the next one." And it was like, I could have taken the time and leisurely experienced Delos, but it was like that. I came home from that vacation. I was so tired
Hmm.
because I felt frazzled the whole time. I didn't have a vacation where I
Right.
could just sit and experience, and that to me is huge.
Me too. That's super important for vacation. And I think too, if you're in a family or you're going with other people, like discussing those expectations beforehand. What do I want out of this vacation? How do
It's
I
good.
want to feel
Yeah,
at the end of this vacation? And knowing that it doesn't have to be some great big trip. You could take 3 or 4 days. Like a camping trip can be great if you enjoy camping, or a cabin just a couple of hours from home. It's so important to disconnect, to
right, right.
reconnect. That is
Eh,
where we find that connection to God and
exactly.
source and yada yada. Right.
And yada yada, right? Exactly. I mean, I specifically built a camper that was designed to not have a lot of indoor space.
Mhm.
It literally is a bed inside of a cargo trailer kind of thing, with you open the back doors and all the kitchens in the back. It's kind of like a teardrop camper, but it's on steroids a little bit. Um, um, you know, um, Built on a military trail. It's really cool. It's just cool. I call it the tactical recreation unit.
Nice.
Um, but what's cool about it is I go out and I camp, and I open my doors and I pull out my chairs, and my entire experience, except for sleep, is outside.
Hmm.
And so, and I've got canopies I sit under if it rains and all that stuff. But my entire experience is to being fully into nature. And it is so rejuvenating, so rejuvenating.
Yeah, there's to me, there's nothing better. We used to vacation. My mom's from California, and so we would go almost every other summer. And her parents had rented a campground in the Sequoia National Forest, and they had rented this campground for like 50 years. So they had been able to build platforms. My uncles had built a platform kitchen. There was a shower stall. You still had to go to the outhouses, but it was kind of today's version of glamping. And we would sleep outside under the stars on these mattresses. And just look at the trees and watch for shooting stars. And we spent every day on the river, mountain runoff. And then we'd go hang out on the bridge. This was this tiny little rickety bridge, and lay there to watch the stars, the shooting stars, and listen to the river. And I would spend 3 weeks at a time there. And it's my favorite place in the entire world, still
Lovely.
Today. And it's just so good.
When I think back when you're a kid and you're constantly on vacation when you're a kid, a lot.
Well, I don't know, not maybe once you're in high school, but
yeah, when I was a kid anyway. But I remember like, sucking on honeysuckle, and and that sweet taste, and just the little moments of being part of. Have you ever tasted honeysuckle?
I don't think so.
Honeysuckle is cool. It's a little flower, and it's got on the back where the flower comes back. There's a little ball on there, and if you grab the flower and you grab that ball and you twist it and you pull it, there's I don't know what it would be called, but like a string that's attached to that ball, and as you pull it, a sweet liquid comes out with it, and so you go, and you're like, it's like drinking a little sugary drink that nature gave you, and as a kid, my grandmother had this fence that was covered in honeysuckle behind our house. And we used to spend hours just back there tasting honeysuckle. And it was the greatest moment of just being with nature, being out there and not being carefree. And I think that's the key to a good vacation. Is being carefree.
And so that's what you need to consider when you schedule it. It's like, how much time do I need to transition from the doing to the being? Right?
Exactly. I think it's a great way to really end this episode, because I think it's transition. Transitioning into being. Just go out and be. So it's a good conversation. Thank you so much, Tamara, for the vacation conversation.
Thank you, John, for suggesting it. And I will happily take us on a Spirit Cafe vacation, and you all will hear us again next week.
There you go. Get us out of here.
and tell us about your vacation. What is a vacation to you? And is it easy or challenging for you to shift from the doing to the being? And are you willing to do that for yourself, to be that for yourself this summer? We will talk to you next week. We love and appreciate you. Can't wait to do this again. Bye.
Thank you for joining us at Spirit Cafe, a place where you can safely explore your spirituality without the guilt or dogma of religion. Please leave all comments on the Spirit Cafe podcast Facebook page or beneath our videos on YouTube.